A quiet practice session was never meant to rattle the tennis world, yet one clip quickly became a warning no one expected. The swings were effortless, the movement precise, and the confidence far beyond a player still waiting for her breakthrough. It felt like she had already arrived. Now the question is no longer whether Eala is ready, but something far more unsettling for everyone else. What if she already is? The shift feels inevitable, and the timing perfect.
But yeah, I have a lot of routines, so warming up is a big routine of mine, going to the physio, taking care of my body, and just basically giving myself love, just self-love and taking care of myself. I think in the long run is what's gonna keep me healthy, keep me happy. Yeah.
If Eala's rise has you watching a little closer, go ahead and hit subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. No one expected a routine warm-up to become a defining moment. Yet a simple training session suddenly sparked reactions as if it changed everything. What should have been quiet preparation turned into something louder, with a young player no longer blending into the background, but beginning to command attention.
The Philippine Senate has filed a resolution honoring Filipina tennis sensation Eala or her remarkable semifinal run at the 2025 Miami Open. Senate Resolution number 13300, filed by Senator Joel Villanueva on March 25, recognizes Eala's outstanding achievement, saying that it serves as an inspiration to young athletes all across the country and proves that with hard work and perseverance, Filipinos can compete and triumph on the international and world stage.
Somewhere between the opening rallies and the final strike, it stopped feeling routine and started sounding like a warning. That part was expected. What wasn't was how a simple practice session spread online, ignited debate among analysts, and subtly began reshaping how the future of tennis is being viewed.
Never expected anything like this, sa totoo lang, because syempre Philippines is not really on the map here 6 months ago. Nung nanalo si Alex and she's getting a really good world ranking, she's doing well in the tournaments, she's beating champions, she's beating the world number ones. That's given it so much great exposure for the Filipinos out here. That sometimes nagtetene, sometimes parang mga barkada kasama and then they go hit around. But now sometimes some of them will want to teach their children and hone their skills, so when they get older, they might have potential, reaching the same potential as Alex. So
Eala was never expected to disrupt the conversation this quickly, at least not by the usual script. Rising prospects are meant to grow quietly, take losses, and learn before making noise. Instead, this feels like a leap forward, as if several chapters were skipped and the spotlight arrived far earlier than planned.
Hey, tennis fans! The energy in Miami right now is absolutely grabby. We are currently witnessing a massive collision of two Pinoy icons in the 305. I'm talking about NBA legend coach Erik Spoelstra and our very own tennis queen, Alexa Eala. Alex just hit a career high, world number 29 yesterday, and she's back in Miami, where her stardom began. Today, we're breaking down the Spoelstra mentality, the heat culture that Alex is bringing to the WTA.
At first glance, the footage does not appear dramatic. There are no slow-motion hero shots or roaring crowd reactions, just Eala on court, moving through drills, rallying, refining her footwork, and striking the ball with a composure that feels almost too controlled for someone still early in her career. Yet that calm precision is exactly what has drawn attention, because it does not feel like practice. It feels like a quiet statement. What stands out is not only the technical sharpness, although that is undeniable, but the confidence flowing through every movement. There is no hesitation in her swing, no uncertainty in her positioning, and no sense that she is trying to prove herself. Instead, it carries the presence of someone already aware of her level, as if she understands something the rest of the tennis world is only beginning to grasp. This is where the shift begins. When a player looks this comfortable before fully arriving on the biggest stage, the narrative changes. It moves away from potential and starts leaning toward inevitability, and that is where things become dangerous for everyone else. The reaction from viewers has been strikingly consistent, even when expressed differently. There is a rhythm to her game that feels natural, each shot flowing seamlessly into the next, as though the rally has already been constructed in her mind. That kind of fluidity cannot be manufactured, and it is rare to see it so early. Perhaps even more telling is how quickly perception has evolved. Not long ago, she was simply a promising name for the future. Now, the question is no longer when she might break through, but how far she can go right now.
I don't have a lot of experience on the WTA tour, that's for sure, but I do have experience with compartmentalizing. I have experience with being professional, and I have no hesitation to bring that part of me out when I'm on court and when I'm in a setting that calls for professionalism.
And this is where the Miami Open enters like a perfectly timed plot twist. It is not just another stop on the calendar. It is a stage where momentum can quickly turn into something far bigger. The conditions, the crowd, and the energy all amplify whatever is already building beneath the surface. For Eala, this viral moment feels like a spark hitting dry ground. The attention is no longer subtle. It is loud, widespread, and reaching audiences who were not paying close attention before. Casual fans are now watching her clips and wondering why her name was not already everywhere. The truth is, the tennis world often takes time to catch up, and right now, it is doing exactly that in real time. There is also something distinct in how she carries herself. In a sport driven by intensity and big personalities, her quiet certainty stands out. It is not built on flashy reactions, but on execution, consistency, and control that makes everything appear effortless. That sense of effortlessness is what has gone viral. Anyone who understands tennis knows how difficult it truly is, which makes her composure even more compelling. It draws people in, making them look closer, question what they are seeing, and slowly shift from curiosity to belief as the reactions continue to grow.
Enter the Miami Open as a wild card, ranked 140th by the Women's Tennis Association, but her impressive performance included victories over several higher-ranked and accomplished players, including, of course, 3 Grand Slam winners. Now, despite the semifinal loss, Eala's performance propelled her to a career-high WTA ranking of number 75, making her the highest-ranked Filipina singles player in tennis history and the first to break into the WTA Top 100.
At first, it begins as curiosity. Then it grows into admiration, and eventually, it settles into expectation. This is usually where pressure starts to build for young players, as viral attention can quickly raise the stakes before results fully follow. But Eala seems to be handling it differently. Rather than looking overwhelmed, she appears completely at ease, treating the spotlight as just another step in her process. That composure is more than impressive. It creates an advantage. In tennis, perception shapes everything, from how opponents approach matches to how crowds respond. When a player begins to feel inevitable, even without a long record of wins, it introduces a psychological edge that is subtle yet powerful. The environment starts to shift, almost unnoticed, but consistently in the same direction. The viral practice footage is only one part of this, but it is a significant one. It offers a rare, unfiltered glimpse into her game, revealing something that feels both authentic and slightly ahead of its time. That authenticity is likely why it resonates so strongly. It does not appear staged or exaggerated. It feels real, like a moment where preparation, talent, and confidence align perfectly. As the Miami Open approaches, the timing could not be more compelling. The buzz continues to grow, expectations keep rising, and the spotlight becomes harder to ignore with each passing day.
I can't speak for the future and what will actually happen when I arrived to Miami, but the Miami last year was a beautiful time for me, and it, like you said, was the start of all of this. But since then, I've achieved a lot as well, and I've grown a lot, and I've had so many good matches, so many tough losses, so much experience since then, and that's helped me build confidence, self-esteem, and I know that I belong here.
Yet through it all, Eala carries herself like someone who is not chasing the moment, but allowing it to come to her. That distinction matters. Players who chase tend to react, while those who wait with confidence often control the pace, both on and off the court. Right now, she looks firmly in that second category. At the same time, a broader shift is unfolding in tennis. For years, the conversation has been dominated by established stars and familiar storylines, leaving little room for new names to truly break through. It was never about a lack of talent, but rather a lack of space in the spotlight. Now, that spotlight is widening, and she is stepping into it at exactly the right moment. Her rise feels connected to a larger movement, where the next generation is no longer waiting to be invited into the conversation. They're forcing their way in simply by showing up and performing. Once that shift begins, it becomes difficult to contain. Fans bring energy, analysts add perspective, and social media amplifies everything until it reaches a level that cannot be ignored. The viral practice footage is a clear example of how quickly that momentum can build. For her, this is not just about a viral moment. It is about what follows. Attention alone does not define a career, but it can create the foundation for something far greater.
Actually been brought up to me by a lot of media, such as yourself. I'm 20 years old. It's very difficult to start thinking about a legacy when I'm only starting my career. But I was talking the other day with one of the members of my team, and growing up, I noticed tennis is very inaccessible in the Philippines. Thankfully, tennis has risen in popularity at home, and everyone comes up to me whenever I go back to Manila and they're like, it's so hard to get courts, it's so hard to get courts. And that's a good thing, because when I was younger, the courts were empty, nobody was playing. But at the same time, it's tough to have access to tennis courts and equipment. There are not many public courts, and if there are...
The real story will unfold on the court, where each match adds another layer to a narrative already gaining momentum. If her practice is any indication, that story may be far more compelling than anyone first imagined. Right now, Eala stands on the edge of that possibility. The viral footage is not the story, it is only the preview. And if the preview has drawn this much attention, the main event could be something entirely different. As the Miami Open begins, the focus will not just be on whether she wins, but on how she carries this growing momentum. Because once momentum builds, it can reshape the trajectory of a career. If this is the start of that shift, then the tennis world may have just witnessed the turning point without fully realizing it. What makes it even more compelling is how quietly it has all developed, almost as if everything changed in a moment of distraction. While the spotlight remained fixed on familiar headlines, she was steadily building something far more complete than expected. Now, the realization is setting in that the story is already in motion, and the rest of the tennis world is catching up.
When you try and describe this run she had in Miami, you have to look back at her past record. She never made it past qualifying at a Grand Slam. Not once. She hadn't won back-to-back matches. She hadn't won back-to-back matches at the ITF level, because that's where she was. So you get all of that, and then to come into Miami, she beat Katie Molinez, Yelena Ostapenko, which at this point you're like,
There is a noticeable sharpness in her game that goes beyond clean technique, visible in the small details that casual viewers might initially overlook. Her court positioning feels intentional rather than reactive. Her shot selection carries clear purpose, and her movement reflects an efficiency that suggests she is anticipating patterns rather than simply responding to them. That kind of awareness is usually seen in players who have spent years competing at the highest level, yet it is emerging in a practice setting that was never expected to draw global attention. Each point and each decision begins to seem heavier simply because more people are observing closely. Still, there is something about Eala that suggests she is not distracted by external noise. If anything, the attention appears to have strengthened her composure rather than unsettled it. She continues her preparation with consistent focus, steady rhythm, and quiet confidence, qualities that made the original footage stand out and continue to define her presence now.
But it was a fun day, and Eala was a big part of that. She really brought a lot of energy to this Australian Open in a way that I haven't really seen any player do before. Certainly not someone as new on the scene, so making their tournament debut.
What first drew you personally to the story of Alex Eala, and at what point did you realize that her rise was becoming something bigger than, just a new tennis sensation from the Philippines?
Yeah, I think I noticed her, like a lot of people did, when she made her run at the Miami Open last March, when she made the semifinals there. Really, as a complete underdog, she was a wild card, one of the last picks even to get a wild card into that.
This is where the narrative becomes even more compelling because the contrast is difficult to ignore. On one side is the growing height, rising expectations, and constant attention. On the other is Alex Eala, who appears grounded and focused, treating each session and match as part of a steady process rather than a reaction to noise. That balance often separates a brief surge from lasting progress. As the Miami Open unfolds, that distinction will matter even more. Practice, no matter how impressive, is only the beginning. The true test comes when the scoreboard is active, the pressure is real, and opponents are determined to disrupt rhythm and timing. Will decision-making stay sharp as intensity increases? And when the spotlight grows brighter, will that quiet confidence hold firm? These questions now surround her, signaling a clear shift in perception. She is no longer simply part of the conversation. In many ways, she is beginning to shape it through her presence, preparation, and the expectations building around her.
One, by beating those two players. And then she goes Madison Keys and Iga Swiatek, insane. She wasn't winning matches. She has not been in the main draw of a Grand Slam. And she does this. And then gives Pegula a run for her money. Pegula was so frustrated during that match. You could almost see her thinking, wait, so this girl's gonna beat me right now? Like, what? I feel like that was Pegula's attitude the whole match. Alex Eala is a phenomenon, especially at this tournament, but also because of what she has done to get more Filipino.
At the same time, there is a growing belief that her rise is contributing something broader to the sport. New energy is entering the narrative, attracting fans who want freshness, unpredictability, and a different storyline. That kind of momentum does not only lift one player, it reshapes the atmosphere around the entire event. Perhaps that is the most meaningful aspect of it all. The viral footage may have served as the spark, but what it ignited extends far beyond a single moment. It has generated anticipation, curiosity, and the feeling that something significant could be unfolding. If the same rhythm, composure, and control that captured attention online begin to appear in competition, the conversation will evolve once again. At that point, it will no longer be about a viral clip or a promising talent. It will be about performance under pressure and whether this moment marks the emergence of a lasting presence that commands attention through results rather than anticipation.